We have some massive news to go over today. As notable MLB insider Jeff Passan has just dropped a massive Jays trade report that not only is very intriguing, but shed some very interesting light surrounding Ross Atkins' plans going forward. We're going to break down exactly what that report is, as one particular aspect of it has fans fired up. But not only that, we have multiple Jays updates to go over today ahead of what's going to be a crazy game against the Detroit Tigers. So, folks, you're going to want to stay tuned till the end of the video. Before we get into it, you guys have been absolute beasts with the support, so make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the daily Jays videos, multiple videos a day. You guys truly mean the world to me, and thank you guys again for continuing support. You guys have been beasts, folks. Man, a lot to go over today, and Jeff Passan has dropped a recent article outlining a lot of different things about the Toronto Blue Jays, and we're going to dive into one big report here, and we also have some reports from some other guys as well, but let's just dive right into the article. So he dropped an article not for each team, or highlighting, the outline for each team, and for the Toronto Blue Jays, the way he defines it is pretty exciting. It's all in, and he links one player to the Jays. Here we have some other reports where he linked a few other players. We have a bunch of reports. There's going to be a lot of videos coming out because there's a lot of trade talks, but essentially let's dive into it here. This is directly from Jeff Passan. Biggest needs are, of course, Mitch Keller, and the latest is the Jays' magical run this season has warranted an aggressive tack, and if they don't wake up August 1st, at least one impact arm acquired, the disappointment will be palpable. And also, note, this came out a couple days ago. I have some new reports I'm going to be diving into in this video. It came out like yesterday night into this morning, all these different things, a bunch of new reports. Stay tuned till the end, but I want to start with this. He basically links the Jays yet again to Mitch Keller, notes him as the best possible fit. And he basically goes on to say here, getting an under control starter such as Keller, who has 3 years on his deal, is a priority. So this is the third, fourth, fifth, sixth. I mean, he's linked on the Blair Barker show, on ESPN, on the article now, everywhere. Mitch Keller to the Blue Jays. I think it's like the 7th time he's done it. Clearly, there's some smoke there, and I don't necessarily love the fit, if we're being completely honest. I mean, I've covered it on the channel a lot. It makes sense on the surface, right? Because he's a fantastic starter, someone who's absolutely deserving of, a big contract to a degree, depending on who your team you're on. But he doesn't put this team over the top. And if this team doesn't think that they can get by with Alek Manoah, don't think they can get by with Eric Lauer for the rest of the year, and Lauer's been fantastic, then maybe it makes some sense. But given the amount that he would cost comparable to the production, I'm not a huge fan of it. But he links him yet again, and I have to keep you guys up to date. This seems like a very realistic possibility, especially for Jeff Passan. And he goes on to say a few other things, basically about improving the bullpen. And he says Toronto's farm system, though improved, doesn't have quite the heft of others that are going for top-end talent. If that means dealing from a surplus of big league position players instead, it's an option. And there's, of course, some skepticism, not after yesterday's game against the Yankees. This team is on fire. But it is interesting, and I want to lead with that because, Jeff Passan's most notable and tuning guy. He's said Mitch Keller several times. Clearly, there's some smoke there. I can't deny it. And I want you guys to let me know down below, would you want to see, Mitch Keller as a Toronto Blue Jay? Because, again, he doesn't move the needle enough for me. He's not an ace or anything like that. And I think in order for this Jays team to really push themselves over the top and they want to acquire a starting pitcher, you're going to have to do so through a David Price-like acquisition. We think back to 2015, and that was the last game yesterday, the last game before the trade deadline. You see this here. This tweet made me think of the Price debut against the Twins. Another big-time addition would make the upcoming Royals game feel like a giant party. And I don't think Mitch Keller is that. However, I'm not fully against it. And Passan also came and said this late last night. Are they going to be trading off the big league roster? Maybe some of the higher end talent, but those depth pieces that aren't getting at bats. So I'm thinking here, based on this most recent report as well, I would be not shocked at all if Alan Rodin is traded this deadline, if maybe even Will Wagner, Joey Loperfido, players like that who are big league talents, have shown some things at the major league level, but other teams can give them more playing time, whether that be the Diamondbacks, whether that be the Pirates, whether that be a lot of different teams. I think that is a very realistic possibility right now. And you pair that with what Jeff Passan said specifically in this article, or in the article, and of course the the Blair Barker show, it makes things very interesting. Now, let's move on to another report. Now, Jeff Passan, and I believe another writer or someone on ESPN recently, I believe it was Kylie McDonald. Basically, ESPN on Kylie McDonald and Jeff Passan, they've reported that the Guardians are willing to move Steven Kwan. However, it would have to be for an absolute haul. And there's been some links lately to the Toronto Blue Jays, both from some insiders, not necessarily Jeff Passan. I believe Jeff Passan has mentioned it though that this would be an interesting one. Ben Nicholson Smith as well. But basically, it goes on to say the Toronto Blue Jays' top priority at the deadline should be starting pitching, as we know. But the front office's aggressive approach results in top prospects being moved for a frontline starter. One alternative, though, would be acquiring a mid-rotation starter while going all in on a Steven Kwan trade. And I love this idea. If you can go out and get a guy like Seth Lugo, who is a mid-ish rotation starter on the higher end of mid, and you go out and you get a Steven Kwan, I would be over the moon. Now, is he the power hitter that the Jays want? No. And is it the Eugenio Suarez? No. But he is someone that kind of takes what everyone in the Jays really does well, doesn't strike out contact, and is just the best at it in baseball. Has the best arm in baseball, the best whiff percentage, meaning he whiffs the least, swings and misses, the best K percentage in baseball, basically, besides one or two other people. He would be perfect for this team, the vibes. And I'm willing to go all in on the weird, crazy, ridiculous, annoying baseball team that we have now. And there's been reports that he is going to be available. And Ross Atkins, Mark Shapiro have a ton of relationship with the Guardians front office. He used to work there, of course. And now with Ross Atkins, he's traded with them a bunch as recent as the Andres Jimenez trade. I'm all in on this move as well. And pairing this with all the different reports that are coming out, Passan linking them, it makes just a ton of sense for me. But not only that, folks, also, they updated the top 10 prospects on the MLB pipeline. I'll have a full video diving into these, but I just wanted to show this so you guys can get a decent idea for prospects if they get traded. Arjun and Trey stay the 1 and 2. You have Ricky at the 3, and some of the newer guys that I've been talking about really diving in. I've been talking about Panago for a while. Kendry Rojas is going to be one of the best prospects in the system. Cal Steven and, of course, Gage Stanifer, the guy's been going alongside Trey Savage for a while there. But I want to talk about a starting pitcher, and I bring this up because there is another, there's reports flying surrounding Mackenzie Gore as well, and I want to dive into him. So John Heyman basically came out and said that Mackenzie Gore is an option, although, a bit not far-fetched, but would require a lot. He is an option as well for the Jays and other players, and other teams, rather. It would cost a lot. And I had a full video a few days ago. Feel free to go check it out, but he would cost a ton. But guess what? It would make some sense. And the Jays have a very strong prospect system. Another video is coming out on this. Like, this is a lot stronger than people think. And if you don't watch the Jays and you really aren't involved in their prospect pool, like I'm talking about from the analyst perspective, a lot of analysts are just saying, or writers especially who don't really follow the Jays prospect pool as much, saying, hey, this is just a terrible farm system because it has been bad for so long. It is really good now. You have a lot of really good players. And you guys are probably, I've been using the top 10 MLB pipeline for the past month or so, and it hasn't had half of these players. Johnny King's new. Cal Stevens been around. Kendry Rojas, Gage Stanifer, Pinago, Warren Watts-Brown. Warren Watts-Brown is newly in here, even though he's been around a while. This team has a ton of, and none of their top 10 prospects, by the way, here include Joey Loperfido, Will Wagner, all these different guys who are also trade chips that they can use. Of course, they graduated. So they have a lot of assets. Jeff Passan's revealing a lot of information. Mitch Keller seems to be the number one name. I'm all in on Steven Kwan. And of course, you need to get a starting pitcher. And Mackenzie Gore would be elite. I mean, that would be the A plus. It would cost everybody in the farm. But also, of course, keep an eye out for some bullpen arms as well. But that'll wrap it up, folks. A huge series starting tonight against Detroit in Detroit. And we'll keep you up to date every step of the way. You guys have been an absolute beast. Cheers.